Here at Helmuth Ford, we are a small town dealership with no hassle and no pressure.
The Brooklyn Opera House in Brooklyn, Iowa presents live music on Wednesday, November 27th at 7 p.m. with Jake Simon and Blake Jack. Tickets are $25 in advance or $30 at the door. For more information, call 641-522-2424 or use the QR code on the screen. It's two of Iowa's finest country music acts, Jake Simon and Blake Jack. Wednesday, November 27th at the Brooklyn Opera House. Betsy's Boutique at 105 High Avenue West in Oskaloosa has uniquely different women's clothing from casual to dressy and everything in between. Betsy's biggest sale of the year is Small Business Saturday, November 30th, starting that day at 9 a.m. with their biggest discounts of the year, doorbusters, and giveaways to the first 100 customers to check out. Don't miss Small Business Saturday, November 30th at Betsy's Boutique, 105 High Avenue West, Oskaloosa. Steve Shetler Media presents Santa Steve's Stocking, a prize package valued at $1,000, $500 in cash, and $500 in gift cards from participating businesses. Please clearly print your name and phone number on your registration slips. One registration per person per business. Businesses have the option to require an in-store purchase in order to register. One winner will be randomly drawn from all the registrations from all the businesses on Friday, December 20th. In Oskaloosa, you can register at Julie's Homestyle Cafe, Shop Jen Miracle, Aesthetics by Lily, Betsy's Boutique, Stam Garden Center and Nursery, Rushed by Jude, Eagle's Nest Christian Bookstore, Mahaska Drug, and Oski Dental. In Lighton, register at Tassel Ridge Winery. In New Sharon, at Style Me Crazy. And in Sigourney, you can register at Casey's, Sinclair Napa, Barnwire, Brothers Market, Sigourney TV and Appliance, Colbert Feed, Copper Lantern, Sigourney Mercantile, and the Garden Gate. Register now and maybe win big just in time for Christmas with Santa Steve's Stocking.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, one and all. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. Of course, I am your host, Never Wrong, Nick Bull. And joining me, as always, is my co-host, the co-tag team champs of the For Frequency's Sake Network. He is the one. He is the only. He is the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing this week?
Man, I'm feeling pretty good. We're been a good weekend. Went out to Wildwood last night. Didn't stay for the whole show, but that's because I was having some back issues. Those high chairs without backs are rough on me. But been a good weekend. It's been good so far, and I'm excited because I'm here. You're here. We're doing another great show.
Absolutely. And we got a guest this week we've been wanting to get on for some time. I know we say that every once in a while, but this is a guy I think I might have elbowed you at an event like, hey, we got to get this guy on. And I'm glad we have him here. I know he's got some stories to tell. And I'm looking forward to hearing about how he got into the business and what he loves about wrestling. Let's go ahead and welcome him in, CZ.
Yeah, let's welcome in Shane Boucher, the Cajun Kid.
The Cajun Kid, Shane Boucher, is joining us here in studio. We're doing great, man. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm alive.
It's great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to go ahead and just steal Nick's thunder. He usually asks the first question, but I'm going to steal it from him this time and just ask, why pro wrestling? What got you hooked?
It's a good question. There's like a specific moment in time where I was like, where I decided to be a wrestler. It sounds so silly now, but like I started watching wrestling at like 8 or 9, maybe a little older. And I went to a live event show when I was like 12. And CM Punk was the champion around that time. And I bought one of those like fake WWE titles, and he was a champ. So he like got on the stage and like did like he this classic where he would hold it and do this one, and like everybody knows he does it. I know he does it, but like we just did it at the same time, and for some reason I was like, oh yeah, that's sick. I want to do that. So and then ever since I after that I got a like backyard stuff. I never had a whole lot of friends, so I was just in the backyard by myself pretty much. But I found a way to get a ring, and then I was in the yard just wrestling in my backyard by myself on crash pads and mattresses or whatever I really had the chance to jump off of. I would. So and then after that I found there was like a local indie that came around to my town once in a while, and my friend took me to it, and I met some guys there. A guy by the name of Action Jackson. I met him there, and then I got his number and everything because I was asking about training. And then he texted me. How old was I? I was like 14, 15 here. He texted me. He asked me, he's like, do you want to train this weekend? I said, Grandma, he wants me to come up there and train and wrestle. And I was like, it's everything I do in the backyard already. So like, but at least this is safer, And then, but it was in Little Rock, and I lived in West Monroe, Louisiana. So it's about a 3.5-hour drive, and I'm 14. I don't have a car. So she, bless her heart, she drove me all the way up to Little Rock on Friday, and then I stayed at his house. She obviously went home, and then on Saturday we went up and we trained a little bit, and he kind of taught me how to fall, how to hit the ropes and do all the basic kind of stuff. And then it was just so exciting. I mean, I was so happy. And then my grandma came back on Sunday and picked me up. And she's like, "How was it?" And I'm like, "Unfortunately for you, I will be doing this for the rest of my life." So for every weekend for about a year, 2 years until I got my own car, she had to drive me every weekend, and she did every weekend to Little Rock, Arkansas. And then wherever we were going after that, I would just ride with them. But every weekend, my grandma took me 3.5 hours to Arkansas, and I will never forget that. I hope I'm able to pass that on to my kids. I'll drive them wherever they want to go. So, but yeah, after that, it was pretty much off to the races. There was no turning back now. So, and here we are.
What a great intro into the business.
Oh yeah, I think it's honestly, it was the best intro to the business I think you can get, because I was just training, and I had already paid for Black and Brave to come up here and train. So I wasn't really looking for anything. Like, I wasn't expecting to get booked. I wasn't expecting to do anything. I would go to Little Rock on Saturday. I would train, and then, I would watch the show. I would help out. I would do security. I would do anything they needed me to do. I would do it. And then along with that, he wrestled at this place. It was called Main Event Pro Wrestling at the time. They don't run anymore, and they're from Texas though. They kind of went down the I-20 interstate with a couple cities. They would do it, and that's the independent promotion that I saw originally. But then I started helping out there and just setting the ring up, and with the idea that once I got done with Black and Brave, all these places would book me. So as I was training with him, I never expected anything, which was, I think, the best way to come into it. Was like I didn't, I wasn't like, oh, why aren't they putting me on the show, or I'm better than this guy. I had none of that, because that wasn't where I was at the time. So I truly didn't expect to do anything until after I finished Black and Brave. I did get like one match, actually. I got a battle royal, and the promoter saw us doing like flips on the crash pad before the show, and he saw me do it, and he's like, "Do you want to do that during the show? You'd be number 3." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I was like 16, so I like clothesline. He's like, "Yeah, you'll clothesline this guy, and then you'll clothesline the next guy, and then you just do your flip, and he'll move, and then you like land on your feet and roll, and then he'll just toss you out." And I was like, "Oh yeah, perfect. That would be awesome." My grandma and my grandpa were here for this, and it was great. I'm glad they got to see it. So I so nervous. I didn't have any theme music. They made me come out to AC/DC, which was I love AC/DC, but I hate AC/DC as well. So it was very but like I the music hits and they're like, go, go, go. So I run out there and then I like clothesline the guy and then I clothesline the guy. And then I went up to do the flip and I was like, all right, land on your feet. But I was just so excited. I just went all the way through and I landed on my face like very hard. And everybody like, oh, and I was just like, oh, I messed it up, but I was so excited. I didn't even feel it, man. I was so excited. Then he picked me up and threw me out. And I got to the back and everyone was like, that was awesome. And I was like, dude, I know I'm really good, huh? It was awful. I'm awful, So like, but after that, my grandma, she was so happy. My grandpa was so happy. Everybody thought I did so great. And then I actually found that footage probably a year or two ago, and I watched it and I went, oh, I'm so bad. I was so bad. I had no clue what I was doing, but I was just happy to be there, which was fun. So, but if you'd have told 14, 15-year-old me that 16-year-old was doing that day, they wouldn't have believed you. Or they'd have been like, yeah, probably.
I mean, how cool as a 14-year-old, you are getting pretty much kind of like on the job training. And you're cutting your teeth as a 14-year-old. As a 14-year-old, I worried I'd be home in time to watch Raw. And here you are helping set up rings and learning on the job. How much did that further you for when you came to Black and Brave and started training? Like, how much did that get you ready for it?
I'm a pretty athletic dude already. I played sports my whole life. So athletically, I would have been probably in the same place anyways, whether I did it or not. I think mentally, it helped me more than some of my counterparts where I was kind of already used to, eating crap sandwiches and, kind of just biting the bullet and just doing what you got to do and not really expecting anything to happen for me and just trying to work as hard as I can to make something happen. Knowing that whenever I was, done with this training, it would be, then it's off to the races. It's not off to the races until I'm done with this Black and Brave training. That was always my mentality. So I do think it put me a step ahead mentally. And I can kind of prove that in a weird way. You guys, y'all may not remember him. His name was Sage Kanan. He was a Black and Brave graduate, real great friend of mine. We're best friends. And he came in and, he had a blast doing it. And at the end of it, just the politics and stuff, he didn't like it. He couldn't deal with it. So then he stopped wrestling and he's way happier now and I love him to death. He has a little girl now and it's awesome. I just saw him, went to his wedding and everything, and he's way happier. But because he didn't have all that stuff that I had before, where I had to mentally deal with this stuff and dealing with people disrespecting me and, kind of having to take these things, he wasn't as prepared for it. So when it happened to him, he was like, oh, I don't really like that. So, he just kind of was like, I'm not going to deal with that. And he left. And I'm still here. So, and there's a lot of people that are like that. They get to the dance and then they don't realize, or they realize they don't like dancing. So, it's kind of part of it.
So I want to ask you, Louisiana, that's a little bit of a trip from, to come up here to the Quad Cities. Was Black and Brave your first choice? What drew you up here?
Well, so it was my first choice. I did look like I was looking around. I was going to go to Ring of Honor school originally, but that was before Black and Brave really got announced. I was going to go to Ring of Honor, and then I was going to go to WWA4 in Atlanta, and I had this idea that I was just going to live out of my truck. I had a Tacoma, and I was going to put like a camper shell on it, and just put they had these bed setups. Where you put your bed in it and have the shelves on the side of it, and it'd be real cramped. But that was my plan. I was going to do that. And then probably about 3 or 4 weeks of really looking into wrestling schools. And I had already determined that I was doing the WWA4 truck idea. Black and Brave got announced. And I was like, at the time, I'm pretty sure he was everybody's favorite wrestler at the time. But Seth Rollins was my guy. I thought he was the coolest. I've been watching him since he was in Ring of Honor. So I watched him all the time. So as soon as that got announced, I was like, oh, no, I'm going to be going there. And then I showed my grandpa about it. And then he thought Davenport was Chicago, a big city and everything. He's like, the big cities are dangerous and, it's going to be cold up there and you're not going to be used to being cold and everything. So to prove him wrong, I wore shorts and a T-shirt no matter what every time of year And I'll be like, look, I'm used to the cold. I'll be all right, you know, and I'm trying to convince him that I'll be good, you know. But yeah, once it got announced, I was pretty much – I tried to go earlier. I tried to go when I was 16, and they said no. They said I had to be 18, and I was pretty upset because I graduated high school early at 16 so I could go to Black and Brave. But then they wouldn't take it, so I had to wait.
I love hearing that. So you turn 18. You are set on living out of the back of your truck, and instead you get to the Quad Cities. What's your first impression of not only the Black and Brave Wrestling School, but, you know, coming from Louisiana to the middle of the Midwest?